morning, good morning, good morning. Peace and blessings. It's your boy Jay Taylor, Voices for the Voiceless, and I'm back with another video. And I know it's been a minute. But like I said, last time I did a video, maybe a couple weeks ago, I've been back heavy on the music, dropped a couple music videos and working on the album. And you can check the videos out. They are available on YouTube. One is off a compilation album, Free Alliance, that dropped last summer. It's a song called The Land, straight spelling, Free Alliance, The Land. And another one just recently on my upcoming album that's coming, probably going to be dropping that next month, is called Politics. So that's available on YouTube. You could go actually in the community post on this platform and look at both videos. Just scroll down and you'll see the videos posted there maybe about a week or so ago. And yeah, like I said, working on this album. I'm finished writing all of my lyrics for the album, so it's all about just recording and arranging everything. The name of the album is Press Soul. It's a part of a uh, catalog that I'm doing, a pressure campaign, and I'm doing 5 altogether. This is album number 4 to that catalog, to the pressure catalog. First one is Pressure Volume 1, Book 1. That's a compilation between my label mate and I, New Music Group, Magnificent Magnifique Music. That's available on all streaming platforms. Then my first solo, Pressure 2.0, also available. Then I had No Pressure, and now that's available. That was a couple years ago when that dropped. And now I got Press Soul. So this will be number 4. And I'm going to do one more for this pressure campaign. So 5 different degrees, 5 different soundscapes. I love to create. I'm an artist by nature. But enough about me. You know what I'm saying? Let's get to the content. And, we are in the middle of maybe week 3, going into week 4 of this quote unquote war with Iran. And as the title says, Suicidal Empathy, My Thoughts on the War, Part 2. All right. Now, in Part 1, I did a video, my last video, you could go back and check it out. I kind of broke down a lot of the history of the United States, Israel, and Iran. And I broke down where the conflict originated. Just to give a brief review, Iran was basically our ally all the way up until the 1960s or so, right? So Iran, the United States, Israel were all cool. We used to go as the United States and with Britain, and had a deal with, we would get, work out a deal with the government there in Iran as far as the oil is concerned. And at one point, Iran got a new president that was like, hey, enough is enough. We are going to nationalize our oil industries. And Britain and the United States did not like that. That was back in 1953. So the CIA in the United States and Britain came up with a uh, plan. They came up with a whole strategy to basically infiltrate Iran's election in 1953. And there was a guy named the Shah that the United States and Britain used with upwards of 1,200 informants to basically, interfere in their election. So the Shah would be their president. And by the Shah being their president, we would have access to the oil because that was our guy, right? So we infiltrated the election system back in 1953, and the Shah was in office. and we had access to the oil. Now, the Shah was not a good president for the Iran people, so we could understand why they were upset with us interfering in their election. So time went by. The guy Ayatollah Khomeini, right? But see, and we got to understand at this time, Iran looked at just like the United States, looked at just like Israel, looked at like westernized civilization. They weren't walking around like they are now, looking like, you know, they weren't Islamic. You know, they were Christians. They dressed like American culture. You know what I'm saying? But they also had the Ayatollah and the regime. Now, when the Shah got in office and he wasn't really like spreading the wealth with the people revolted in 1978. And when they revolted, it was an overthrow of the government, right? And the Shah, he got basically kicked out of Iran. He left, right? Because the people got tired of him because he wasn't spreading the wealth. So the people revolted and they begged for Ayatollah Khomeini to come in. When Ayatollah Khomeini came in, the people revolted. It was a big, overthrow of the government. The Shah was gone. He left in exile. Ayatollah, he was in exile. He came back. But listen, if you want the full breakdown of the video, go back to part 1 for that. And that's the last video I did. But now this is where we at now. So when Ayatollah came in, Khomeini, that's when you had the Islamic Shia law that you see today. And he came back in January of 1979. And it's been up and stuck with the United States and Israel ever since, right? So although I do understand their frustration, and I'm going to tell you in this video why I feel as though we paid our debt to Iran. You know, we paid our debt to Iran for what happened back in the 1950s. And actually, now that they got the current regime, when Khomeini came in, when the Ayatollah came in, see now what happened was a shift not only religiously but politically. Because you got the president, but then now you got the supreme leader, which is the Ayatollah. When the regime came in, they Muslims basically from Arabia. You know what I'm saying? They came in and implemented Sharia law. So you got the president, but the supreme leader is over the president, right? So it's kind of like, all right, you got the vice president, but you got the president in the United States. The supreme leader is over the president. So, it's funny to me that a lot of people here say religion and politics should not commingle, but they do in pretty much every other place in the world. So yeah, ever since 1979, that's when they revolted. Now, us being their ally, of course, we had a lot of institutions in Iran. So when the people took over and they got Ayatollah Khomeini back, we had an institution out there that it was like some type of educational institution or a hospital, and they took in 1979 they took like 50 to 60 people hostage, American citizens, right? They took the American citizens hostage, and it's been up and stuck ever since then. They kept those hostages and tortured them for about a year. They let some go here and there. They let some go here and there. And every president, United States president since 1979, I believe that was Jimmy Carter, when he tried to go rescue him and failed attempts. Reagan came in the 80s. Iran and Iraq was going to war. We had made negotiations. And then, we had every president. Iran has been a constant problem and a constant threat for the past 47 years. eventually this was going to come. Now, like I said in part one, I am anti-war. I do not support war. I do not approve of war. I don't, it's a last resort. I don't like to see what I'm seeing with the war. It's terrible. But I also am not disillusioned to know that sometimes there's a time for peace and there is a time for war, right? So at some particular point, we got here where, I believe that the military intelligence had declared that they were an imminent threat at this point. Because see, make no mistake, I went all the way in the last video out and I broke it all the way down, all the way up to a certain point for a reason, right? And the reason is where we at right now. Because I left like pretty much off with Ronald Reagan, where he tried, he had a few failed attempts to try to resolve the matter. Then we had, Bush, all these people. We had other wars going on. We had other things going on. But all of the attacks originated in that region, Iran. You know what I'm saying? So we have to fast forward to Barack Obama. We got to fast forward to Barack Obama. And I'm not even going to say Obama was wrong for this. I think President Obama, he get a lot of criticism for it, but he was trying to think outside the box to avoid a war. But I think that it backfired because you got to understand these people hate you. And it's not really the people of Iran, because now looking back, they regret they were mad at the Shah, but they regret having the regime come back. See, we got to separate when we talk about Iran, we got to separate the government from the citizens, right? We got to separate the government from the citizens. The government does not rock with the United States, but the people, they regret bringing the Ayatollah back in 1979 and going back to Sharia law. They regret that. They, just for protesting, Iran unalived 30,000 people, 30,000 of their own citizens. They were begging the President Trump to come in and do what he's doing because they sick of the regime. They can't. We talk about fascism. We talk about dictatorship. They are living under a real dictator. They can't even. You know how we had no kings protest out here. People get on social media and bash the president all day, regardless of who the president is in office. We get on social media freely and we have freedom of choice and we got a freedom of speech. They don't have that there, right? If you talk against the government there, they just hung a 19-year-old wrestling champion or something like that. Like the kid was 19 years old with two other kids, two other people. I don't know if they was kids, but 19, that's a kid to me. I got a 16-year-old, about to be 17-year-old. That's a child to me. And they literally hung this boy for protesting. A champion, a wrestling champion or something like that, whatever sport he was into, and they hung him. They cut off the internet so the rest of the world could not see what they were doing to their citizens for going up against the regime. And then they slaughtered them in the streets. We had no king protest. People go home, they go protest, and they go home. Now, the only time you might have some people get unalive is if they step out of bounds and go from peaceful protesting, and they make a decision to get involved with law enforcement in a physical way. But just for peacefully protesting, you can do that in America. You can't do that some of these other places. And 30,000 people, that's insane, man. But anyway, we got to go back to Obama, you know what I'm saying, to fully understand where we are now. So Obama, when he got in office, he made a deal with, because see, like I said, every president has to deal with Iran because their constitution is death to America, death to Israel. Israel is our ally. They look at us, they call You got Iranians that tell you when they grew up in school, they were indoctrinated to hate America since birth. They government, they school tell them, death to America. Pardon me. So they have been indoctrinated to hate us. Somebody on the other side of the planet hates you that don't even know you. They were born to hate you, born to unalive you. You know how dangerous that is when we talk about open borders in this country, and you do the history on why these people hate us, and then you have a president and a vice president that leave the border wide open for any and everybody to come over here. At this point, and this ties into what I'm gonna talk about, suicidal empathy. You regardless of what's going on, you're supposed to protect your house. This country is our house. We can't just let people over here that just hate us for something we ain't got nothing to do with that happened back in 1953. You know what I'm saying? Hey, let's be for real. If they infiltrated y'all government back in 1953, y'all had some people on y'all. It wouldn't be possible if some of y'all wasn't down with it. But that don't mean that don't equate to death to America in 2026. You know what I'm saying? That's all. I feel y'all, right? That was wrong. But that don't mean that we should allow them to unalive us. You know what I'm saying? In 2026, just because the CIA interfered with y'all election back in 1953. And the Shaw wasn't the best president, but y'all missed the Shaw now. But anyway, when Obama got in office, Obama made a deal with Iran known as the Joint Comprehensive Plan of America, basically known as the Iran nuclear deal. See, Iran been trying to get their hands on a nuclear weapon for the sole purposes of death to America, death to Israel. That's their life, like that's what they live for, is to get a nuclear bomb so they can bomb us, bro. And okay, like I said, now you got Obama, he thinking outside the box. So he come up with this plan, Iran nuclear deal, and it was finalized in 2015. Right? It was an agreement between Iran and the United States, also United Kingdom, France, China, Russia, and Germany, aimed at limiting Iran's nuclear program in exchange for massive sanction relief. See, we push all these presidents, Clinton, Bush, all these presidents since then put sanctions on Iran to stop their money flow. So other countries that try to trade with Iran, see, Iran got a lot of oil, right? They got a lot of resources. They are rich land with resources. People want to trade with them, but they trying to trade with them so they can get their money, so they could build a nuclear weapon. Hey, help us get a nuclear weapon. UK, China, Russia, help us. Germany, get this nuclear weapon so we can get rid of the big Satan, right? So we could blow them away. But the United States been putting sanctions on Iran. So if you trade with them, hey, it's gonna cost you. So people don't want to pay them sanctions. Iran got to, they really mad. You know what I'm saying? So Obama came up with this agreement with all these nations, like I said, UK, France, China, Russia. Remember China, Russia, and Germany, aimed at limiting the nuclear program in exchange for massive sanctions. So basically, Obama gave them $1.7 billion in 2016 to not try to build any nuclear weapons for the next 10 years. Right? The United States officially, now we gotta be clear. $1.7 billion is a lot of money, especially for a country. We talking United States cash in a country like Iran, right? That's a lot of money, right? And hey, y'all got to lay low for 10 years. Maybe in 10 years we'll revisit this. And I'm thinking maybe Obama was thinking like, I will revisit this and maybe y'all will be cool. Y'all see he tried to go take an outside the box approach because you trying to rationalize with some people that's not that's has a totally different thought process than you. It's like negotiating with a terrorist. You know what I'm saying? And he thinking like, hey, if I try to do it this way, maybe, you know, we could probably get somewhere, right? The Obama administration stated that the deal was necessary to prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon without resorting to war. So yeah, this was like, I give y'all this bread, ease up on these sanctions, and y'all fall back off y'all, you know, trying to nuke us, basically. Stop trying to build this bomb. We know because y'all all day y'all chanting death to America, right? That's all y'all say. Death to America, death to Israel. If I give y'all this bread, they flew fighter jets over there with pallets of money. We talk about cash. Dropped it all to Iran. They like, oh, okay, cool, right? Critics argue the deal was not permanent and that sanctions relief provided funds for Iran's other activities. That's a good argument, right? Because you talking 10 years, all right, we'll sit back for 10 years. All right, y'all lowered the sanctions. We getting bread. Y'all built their wealth. See, this backfired because all you did was make them more, equipped with the bread to build an infrastructure for a nuclear weapon. So, although I believe Obama may have had good intentions, they still didn't slow down. We still, over the years, they didn't unalive American citizens, blew, boats over there. And see, this is deeper than what scratches the surface also. Because see, our open adversaries, China and Russia, they use Iran for other reasons. See, if you look at what Trump and his movements, we just went over there in Venezuela. Who was working with Venezuela? Who was working with Maduro? Russia and China. They were sending fentanyl from China to Venezuela, right? Russia was, trading back and forth with oil. See, the Western Hemisphere, the United States, what President Trump is trying to do is secure the Western Hemisphere. Venezuela is in our backyard. Ain't no way we supposed to sit back and allow our adversaries, China and Russia, to have a foothold in our hemisphere because they would not allow that in their part of the world. See, this ain't about right or wrong. It's about power and control. If we do not secure our own neighborhood, which is the Western Hemisphere, which is Latin and Cuban America, Caribbean, the Latin America and the Caribbean, Caribbeans, I should say. We are the superpower in the Western Hemisphere. And if you don't believe me, it's a law that's still on the books called the Monroe Doctrines, which goes back to the mid 1800s. The Monroe Doctrine. Trump just revamped it, and it's called the Donroe Doctrine, right? And that basically is when we established ourselves as an independent nation, and we basically separated ourselves from Europe back in, like, I believe 1856. Like, hey, we the superpower over here, basically telling Europe, Britain, and the rest of them, this is our part of the world. And if you want to do anything on the Western Hemisphere, you have to go through us. All these other nations in the Western Hemisphere, they independent nations, but this is our neighborhood. So we the big dog, right? So Trump is adopting that theology when you see him doing what he's doing in Venezuela. Because Maduro was already in bed with Iran, Russia, and China. Like I said, it's deeper than what scratches the surface. And I'm going to get more in depth with this as we continue. But see, this war was inevitable. Like I said, when Obama did what he did, whatever happened, pardon me, whatever happened in 1953 and all that, listen, y'all, hey, we overcompensated for that. They should have fell back off they, ambitions to unalive America, but they never did. They still had the Houthis. They still had all these. This is a constant undertone of war. And then you colluding with our open adversaries. I'm not going to say Russia and China are our enemies, but they are adversaries on the global scale. And see, what you have to also, a key word is the petrodollar. They trying to see right now, you have to use the United States currency to purchase oil in some fashion. They trying to get around. See, Iran and Russia and China doing, they trying to get around using the United States dollar. That's a financial war. That's a paper war. That's a resource war. The whole world needs oil to have energy. They trying to get around using our dollar in a slick way. See, this is what that's more about, right? So Iran is pivotal in that because what do they have over there? Now, people saying, well, we trying to just get the oil over there. Nah. It ain't about us getting that oil. See, the Strait of Hormuz, or whatever you pronounce it, is over there in Iran where, China get a large amount of a large percentage of their oil from. Europe get a large percent of their oil from. That region of the world, they get a lot of that oil. Iran controls that. So if they control that and they can get the rest of the world to circumvent the United States dollar, like, man, screw them. Like I said, this ain't about right or wrong. It's about survival. So what Trump is doing is like 4 birds in 1 stone with this war. It's economics, it's military, it's resources, it's a lot of different moving factors. It's territorial, right? So although I'm anti-war, after I've been working on my music and things like that, I have been studying all the moving parts though. I know the history now. You know what I'm saying? I know what's moving. Now let's get back to this topic at hand, right? So the United States. Now back to the story with the deal. Cause we're gonna get off into what's going on with Russia, China, the United States, and all that. Iran was a proxy in all of this, but the United States officially withdrew from that deal Obama did originally in 2018 under the Trump administration. Under his first term, Trump came in and scrapped that deal that Obama made, right? So all them billions of dollars, they got the bread, but Trump, when he came in, he like, man, we putting these sanctions back on y'all. Hey, we out of this Iran nuclear deal. Trump scrapped it. That's another reason why Iran and the regime hate Trump. He like, man, we not finna be sitting up here. Y'all steady talk about death to America and our allies. And we done gave y'all $1.7 billion and y'all still talking about unaliving us. Man, we out that deal. It's over with. You know what I'm saying? So when he came in and scrapped it, like he said, that was only for 10 years. And notice, that was in 2016. What year are we in now in Trump's second term? 2026. So that deal would have been over with anyway. Right? This year. Iran would be free to blow us away. So you see the timing of everything? You know what I'm saying? Like, what Trump is doing, he's targeting their military capabilities. It's not against the citizens. That's why you see the citizens, they over there, they celebrating what's happening to the regime. It's odd. It's the strangest thing I ever seen. Like, we happy y'all bombing us because the regime is that crooked. You listen to Iranians, Persians, they'll tell you. I seen an interview with a Iranian man who fled. He fled to Israel on foot, stayed in the mountains the whole nine, and he told a story of how he got word that they were coming to get him, and he had to get low. They don't fool with the regime. They want to be back cool with the United States. They want to be back cool with Israel. They want to be back in good graces, but they have to get rid of the regime for that to happen. Trump is trying to do what he can do to make that happen. Not only it ain't about just, helping them out, even though that's a cool plus. It's more about the power, the control, the petrodollar, making sure that the United States dollar stays intact. Because if they can circumvent our dollar, our economy would collapse expeditiously. Understand, this is deeper than what scratches the surface. But I see people in the United States that do not understand what's going on. And I've seen people say, man, I hope Iran win the war. Do you understand what that means? That's suicidal empathy. That's the equivalent of saying, man, bro, I know these dudes on the other side of town want to come over here and blow our neighborhood away because of something that happened 50 years ago. And I live, and my family live, and everybody I love live here, but I don't care. I hope they do it because we was bogus what happened 50 years ago. So let them blow this away, even though it's going to blow me, my kids, the family, everything. That's suicidal empathy. This ain't about, they looking at it from a moral aspect. But them people over there, they ain't got no morality like that. If they could sit up there and unalive 30,000 of their own citizens for protesting and raising their voice, they are not the moral authority in this situation. This is survival. This is your existence on the line. How could you want someone who want to see your country blown up in flames? See, we got what Joe Biden did and Kamala Harris did they last administration. They left the border wide open for people from that part of the world to come over here and be sleeper cells in our country, looking for an opportunity to go on here and blow something up over here where your family lay their heads at. That's what you want? Hey, listen, you don't have to support the war. You don't have to like Trump. This ain't about Trump. This is about your way of life. And everybody you know being destroyed. And you got somebody on the other side of the planet calling the shots. Right? But we're going to get deeper in this, man. I'm 35 minutes into this. It's a lot to talk about. But once again, suicidal empathy, my thoughts on the war part 2. We're going to keep it rolling, y'all. Peace and blessings. It's your boy, Jay Taylor. Hope y'all got something from this video. Much love. Peace and blessings. Until next time, we should see you soon.